This is part 3. Go back and listen to parts 1 and 2 for who we think is finishing between 24th and 9th. But today, it's our top 8. And we begin this momentous episode with the team I've been calling my dark horse all summer. I wanted them in my top 6. Justin definitely didn't. In 8th place, we have Queen's Park Rangers. Justin, give me a neigh for the dark horse.
You know I don't neigh. There we go. You've got the horse charisma way more than I have. Yeah, dark horse. It's a big old claim, and you've hung true with that for a very long time now. I'm slightly more, I won't say cynical, but maybe measured with old QPR. Full disclosure, I had them 13th, so not that much lower than where they are in this joint table. But you had them much higher. Tell me, Ryan.
Well, I had them 6th, and was it 6th or 5th? Yeah, I think it was 6th. But for anyone who's been keeping up with us over the summer, they will know I'm very bullish on QPR. I've been looking at other people's predictions, and no one else seems to be as strong as me. But at the same time, I've been very surprised at how low a lot of people still have them, including you, Justin. I think they're going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. They've recruited very well over the summer. They've looked very strong in every position, bar 1 or 2, which we'll get onto shortly. I don't see what's not to like with QPR. And then, of course, they've got a manager in Julian Stéphan, who is an exciting appointment from France. Led Rennes to the highest ever league finish, led Strasbourg to their highest league finish in over 40 years, despite 14 teams spending more than them that season. If you think about it, Justin, Stéphan has got a much better CV than what Regis Lebris had when he came to the Championship this time last year, and look what he did. So I don't see why Stéphan can't do something brilliant with QPR this season, and that's why I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do this coming campaign.
I'm very excited. I think it's very easy to get excited about QPR because I think, just to briefly very summarise it in just a couple of words, they are good vibes FC this season. They have an exciting starting 11. They've got Julian Stéphan, as you say, has a very good history and track record in France. I think just for the more general football listener, Julian Stéphan's coached some top-profile players, Jeremy Doku, Rafinha at Barcelona, Eduardo Camavinga at Real Madrid, then some sort of mid-table, or not mid-table, sort of mid-level top-flight players like Martin Terrier, Mbaye Niang, Serhou Guirassy. They've had successful careers in Europe, so he's got very good experience in developing players and developing players into an elite level, if you like. That's maybe not going to happen at QPR, but the history of development is there. And as I say, that just lends to that good vibes FC. QPR, for me, are going to be a lot of fun. But the reason why I have my doubts about them pushing for the top 6 is just squad depth. I think with Elias Chair, Karameka Dembele and Kwame Poku, there's a very exciting front 3 there. But you strip that back a little bit, and who's waiting in the wings? A couple of youngsters. So I think if they do add some depth, get the striking situation a little bit more convincing. Jean Chella, I do have faith in, but he's coming off the back of the worst possible season you can have as a striker. Michael Fry is useful, and there's some good potential in Ryan Coley, but there's not a guaranteed source of goals. And as I say, the Dembele and Poku injury records of last season just fill me with a bit of doubt that they can last 46 games. Now, if they're available for 46 games, then yeah, sure, playoffs, okay. But there's not that much there to convince me otherwise. But even if they do finish 13th where I predicted them in my table, I think that's a good season and a good season of progress for QPR, who have long been trying to stay away from the bottom 3.
I look forward to them making you look very silly, Justin. Yeah, I can understand where your concerns are with things like squad depth, but I am liking what he has got to work with here, Julian Stéphan. I've got 2 positions of concern, really, with QPR. One is the goalkeeper. A bit of uncertainty around whether Joe Walsh is ready yet for this level. He was their number 2. Has just 10 Football League appearances at the age of 23. So, yeah, interesting that they seem to be going with him. At right back, they have one of the best in the league in Jimmy Dunn. At centre-back, they've got loads of talented options. Liam Morrison, Jed Clark-Salter, the experience of Steve Cook, or new signing Amadou Mbenge, who was brilliant at Reading. At left-back, they seem to be giving Zayed Larkesh a chance. He got rave reviews for his loan spell at Dundee last season. In midfield, they have one of the best ball winners in the division in Jonathan Varane. Sam Field, very solid, knows this level very well. Nicholas Madsen is someone who can make things happen. And Kieran Morgan, one of the most exciting young talents in the Championship. You mentioned that attacking three already, Justin. Oh boy, Kwame Poku, Karamoko Dembele, Ilias Chair. That is mouthwatering. Poku was the standout winger in League One last season, who they got for a bargain at just under $1 million. Dembele, a very talented attacker who will be great with a very high ceiling as well. Ilias Chair, been one of the best chance creators in the division for years now. And then my other position of concern is up front. You mentioned already Zanchella. They may have already abandoned the plan to go with him already after pre-season. So they've got in Romain Barrel from Burton, a very interesting move, scored 11 goals in his last 21 starts last season. Very pacey, good finisher, but they also appear to be getting in another striker, Pape Mesa Bar from Schalke being one that they've been linked with. I still think they need more, but I'm really liking QPR, as you can probably tell.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It is good vibes SC. I'm very positive around QPR. There's just certain things that are holding me back. And I think with that, there are just teams that I think are just going to be better than them. And I think that's not a bad place to be. You're not going to be batting around the bottom three and staving off relegation. Like last season's a very good example of where QPR were at, in the sense that they had relegation form up until November, where they were bottom and second bottom of the championship. Then they had playoff form in the middle part of the season. And then they dropped off again to sort of relegation struggler and then sort of settle around lower mid-table. And I think the change in strategy where it's been a little bit more aggressive recruitment-wise, I think CEO Christian Nuri deserves credit for the work done on that, because not only has recruitment been good, but Jimmy Dunn, Sam Field and Jonathan Varane have all signed new deals. So this is a very positive building block for QPR. And that's what I see this season as a building block for greater things to come, possibly next season or the season after. Not to rule them out this season. As I say, I think if the front three can be very productive and last all 46 games, then with that front three, there's a lot of potential. But I don't see that realistically happening.
In seventh, we have QPR's former manager. It's Leicester City, of course, with Marty Cifuentes now at the helm. A very important thing to point out, first of all, this is where we have Leicester to finish without a points deduction. When I've been listening to other league table predictions, they've been putting Leicester in the top six with a points deduction, which I can't get my head around, to be honest. But we've put them seventh without one because we simply don't know how big a potential deduction could be. It could be nothing. The latest reports I've seen are saying it's likely that they're going to get one that is 9 points. But as we heard from Kieran Maguire over the summer, it's not out of the question that they actually have two separate points deductions. So who knows? However, Justin, even ignoring that, we're not as strong on Leicester as others appear to be. Why is that?
I mean, the uncertainty is one of them. I mean, it's worth pointing out, I did have Leicester in my top six. I see them gaining or getting 75 to 80 points this season, which on average will put them between fifth and third in each of the last 5 years of the championship. But I'm trying to account for a points deduction, but we just don't know how much it's going to be. So I think in seventh is probably about fair where we've got them here. But in terms of not being too high, I mean, in comparison to other creators and pundits, they have them batting around fourth, third and second, which on the face of it, the squad looks good, but actually there's probably going to be more outgoings this summer than there are going to be incomings. The time it took to sack Ruud van Nistelrooy and then bring in Marty Cifuentes, who had to pay half of his compensation fee to QPR to get the job for Leicester City, which tells you that despite Marty Cifuentes, I think, being a fine appointment, it's the cheap option for Leicester. So, there's no Enzo Maresca coming in like there was a couple of years ago when Leicester were down. There are positives in the squad, but ultimately there's too much uncertainty to be really convinced that they're going to push for promotion. And then when you add in that they could face points deductions and then possibly another points deduction, Leicester are a championship fucking migraine this season.
Yeah, it has the potential to all go very badly, or it could go very well. It's quite unpredictable. Leicester's squad is bloated. There's a lot of players still there who got promoted with them a couple of years ago. They've made just the one signing so far, that being the 38-year-old Asmir Begovic. Oof. They might need to wait for players to leave before bringing any more in, and it looks like there could be departures soon. Mads Hermansen, Wilfred Ndidi, Bilal El Khanous, all being linked with moves away, possibly others as well. But even with the handful of players going, the squad still looks very good on paper. However, I think it's easy to let that distract you from a club with a lot of problems, and that's not just potential points deductions. Firstly, they've lost a massive character in Jamie Vardy. Probably when they needed someone like him the most as well, because frustration at Leicester is at an all-time high. Fans can't believe how badly things have declined in just a few years. The decision-making from the director of football, John Rudkin, has been very dubious. There's questions over whether the owner, Kuhn Top, still wants to be there. It won't take much for things to turn toxic, and I wouldn't be surprised for everything to spiral from there. That's why I'm not very hot on Leicester this season. And so the manager, Marty Cifuentes, has got his hands full. But are we totally sold on this appointment? I've got questions.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out, just on your previous point, that Leicester fans are already stirring. They're already very frustrated.
Yeah.
And that is, you want to enter pre-season with a shed load of optimism. Leicester entered pre-season having not communicated to the fans, having not really communicated what's happening with pre-season and friendlies, and not having a manager. So your thumbs up for being an absolute shit show. But yeah, more on Marty Cifuentes. I mean, we just mentioned it with QPR. Marty Cifuentes oversaw the volatile form, if you like, where I think style of play proved a big issue. He wanted to play a more progressive style from the back in that first sort of third of the season. Didn't work.
At QPR, this is.
At QPR. It didn't quite work out, and he ripped up the rule book, if you like, on that, and changed suit and played to the strengths of the team, which is a little bit more direct, a little bit more percentage based, and focus on set pieces, which worked in their favour. And then when they were safe, changed it again, and it just didn't work out. There is a positive in there that Cifuentes can quickly establish when things aren't working, he'll change it. That being said, we have only seen Cifuentes play a certain style, which is very direct, very disciplined and structured, and that's worked in his favour at QPR. So what are we going to get at Leicester? We don't really know. So there is uncertainty there. That being said, there's a raft of youngsters coming through at Leicester that excite me a lot. So there's one thing that he's going to do. He's going to play them. He's going to develop them. So there's something to hang out.
Yeah, he's a good manager, but I think he's done well to get this job. He did well at QPR.
had to pay to get the job himself.
Exactly. He did well at QPR. They were solid at the back under him. They weren't the best going forwards in terms of the underlying data. They were also very streaky. If you look at the results, it's a lot of red, then a lot of green, then a lot of red, and then a lot of green. And I worry for him because, as I say, if things aren't going well, it won't take much for the frustration at Leicester to become palpable. After all, Leicester fans over the past 10 years have been used to their club competing at the top end of the Premier League. They won't be happy if they're struggling in the Championship. Also got to be mentioned, Cifuentes is dealing with a lot of players on big wages. You know, it's easier getting respect from them when you're Pep Guardiola's former assistant like Enzo Maresca was. This is a whole new challenge for Cifuentes. So, yeah, a lot on his plate. I will point out, though, Leicester have got Sheffield Wednesday at home on the opening weekend, so it's a very kind start. Right, let's go into 6th place, and that is obviously the point where we get to the playoffs, Justin. In 6th place, we have Coventry City. This is one where we had a bit of a discrepancy, Justin. You had them 4th, I had them 7th. just picturing that coming back to bite me. So why are you high on them?
I think it's very easy to overlook the quality of the squad with our obvious dislike of Frank Lampard. But I'm not going to focus on Lampard for a moment. I'm going to focus on the squad because the squad's bloody magnificent. I think they're the only team who have 2 players for every position. And now the cliche in football is if you've got 2 good players for every starting position in your team, then you're on to a winner. You just got to look at the goalkeeper department. Carl Rushworth's come in on loan, who I think is a tremendous signing. But then you've got Ben Wilson and Brad Collins, who in their own right have been number ones in previous years of the Championship. Oliver Doven's obviously injured. He's going to be out for most of the next season. So Carl Rushworth there is fantastic. Centre-back is probably the only position where I see weakness. But right wing-back, you've got Milan van Erwijk, Kane Kessler-Hayden. Left wing-back, take your pick of Jay De Silva, Jake Bidwell, Miguel Angel Brau, who's a new signing. I can keep going through the squad. There's plenty there. But as I say, in terms of the quality, they've got attacking ability. They've got creativity. They've got the ability to play 3 at the back with wing backs or 4 at the back with wingers. And I think if you keep Haji Wright fit and get some confidence into Ellis Sims, boy oh boy, I think there's a really good mixture here. Ben Sheaf and Matt Grimes has the potential to be a very, very good double pivot, should Frank Lampard choose to opt for that. And Jack Redoney had a breakout season last season with a hell of a lot of goal contributions. So there's so much positivity around the squad that it's, what's the point of being negative about Frank Lampard?
Yeah, well, I agree with pretty much everything you say there, Justin. Coventry's squad is strong. I thought it was strong last season, and they haven't really lost anyone yet, anyway. But they also need to bring some players in still, I think, anyway. Kane Kesler-Hayden's come in, which is a very good move, especially if Van Eyck leaves. Carl Rushworth in goal, excellent keeper. But the lack of new additions is a bit worrying because I think they could do with a few, particularly in attack. My biggest concern, however, with Coventry, just give me a second, Justin, while I just put my tin hat on, is Frank Lampard. Seriously, Coventry fans, are you that surprised anymore? Come on. I think the job he did last season was massively overhyped. He did well to a degree, but Coventry never should have been as low as they were when he came in the first place. They won 9 from 10, rode their luck a fair bit in the second half of that run against some poor teams, and then they were 5th with 10 games to go, but nearly messed up getting a playoff place. They won just 4 of their last 10, including losing to Derby, Luton and Plymouth. I think on multiple occasions, especially during the playoffs, we saw Coventry become very predictable in the final third, and I worry about Lampard's tactical ingenuity to change that. And one final thing I'll say is Coventry have had a slow start to the last 3 seasons. Could they have another one here? When it happened before, they gave Mark Robins the benefit of the doubt because he's a Coventry legend. I'm not sure Frank Lampard will be given that time if they do have another slow start, Justin.
The slow start is an interesting one because obviously that precedes Frank Lampard. But it's his ability to manage it and manage that pressure should Coventry be 17th come November, which there has been the case in recent years. And then they've ended up batting around the playoffs because of an incredible run of form in each of the last sort of 3 years. So that is an interesting thing. The other one I wanted to mention is actually his man management. And I think there are examples where it's brilliant. There are examples where he treats players suspiciously. He throws out George Thorne at Derby, more notably Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen at Chelsea, amongst others, which led to problems in the dressing room. The link I'm putting here is if you have a big squad that costs a fair amount, Frank Lampard has shown he has favourites. And to bring a player in that would concern me here is Ellis Sims. You go to that playoff semi-final against Sunderland, needed Ellis Sims on the pitch. Lots of crosses going into the box. Haji Wright and Ellis Sims as a duo would have probably connected with a lot more of them. Not saying Frank Lampard's going to persist with a certain style of play, but why do you overlook your most physical forward in that sense? Even Brandon Thomas-Asante, for goodness sake. So there's an interesting thing to think about here because this is Lampard's first full season, it's his first pre-season. How's he going to deal with these things? Not only that, but I think it's worth pointing out that to balance it, Frank Lampard has 2 seasons in his championship with very, very good squads. He's delivered 2 finishes in the playoffs. So would it really be a surprise if he does a third? Not with this squad. You have to be an absolute muppet not to get a squad in the top 6.
Well, there you go. There you go, Frank. That's the gauntlet put down for you, mate. As we say, the squad is strong. They needed a new goalkeeper with Oliver Dovan out injured, and they got a very talented one in Carl Rushworth on loan from Brighton. At right back, they've got in Kane Kesler-Hayden, who was excellent at Preston last season. He's going to be very important if Van Eyck leaves. At centre-back, Bobby Thomas, Liam Kitching are very good. They have been linked with Charlie Hughes from Hull, which would be a great signing if that comes off, but we'll wait and see. Left back has been a weak point for a while. Jake Bidwell, Jay Da Silva are solid, if unremarkable. They've got in Miguel Angel Bra from Granada, but don't know much about him. In midfield, they have 2 of the best in Ben Sheaf and Matt Grimes. Josh Eccles, Victor Torp, very good options as well. In the number 10 role, they have Jack Redoney, probably their best player, but has been linked with a move away. That would be a big problem if he went. In attack, got a few issues. Haji Wright, if you can stay fit, one of the best goal scorers in the division. Ephron Mason-Clark, very good on the left-hand side. On the right, Tatsuhiro Sakamoto isn't coming off the back of a great season, but it can be very fun. Depth-wise, I think there are issues. Brandon Thomas-Asante, for a certain level of championship club, he would be a good player. For one aiming for promotion, not for me. Ellis Sims, I've lost a lot of faith in after the past season. And as you were alluding to, Justin, I don't think Lampard's a big fan either. He also doesn't seem convinced by Norman Bissett either, who joined last summer. Squad-wise, I think they are lacking compared to the other top sides. There's a lot of talent there, but I think they've still got areas to strengthen. That and the manager are my big issues. Anything to take me up on there, Justin?
I think they're fair. I think they are fair. I mean, Norman Bissett's funny because he's only good for boiling piss of supporters and whatnot, so it's worth having him around. You are right to lose faith in Ellis Sims, but we saw the player that was on loan at Sunderland was tremendous just a few seasons ago. But the squad depth is a problem. Weirdly, the wing-backs scenario is they're fantastically stocked. So if they were to lose Milan van Erwijk, I might change my mind a little bit. But that being said, I think Coventry are one of the better run clubs in the Championship with one of the more, I think, proactive recruitment departments as well. So in terms of losing players, I think they will get them in. I mean, they identified the fact that the goalkeeper department is a problem, and they brought in a very, very good goalkeeper in Carl Rushworth on loan. I expect them to make 2 or 3 more additions at the very least between now and the end of the transfer window, which should prop them up. But there are ifs, buts and maybes. If you're going on the now, then I do understand your points.
I will also say Cov haven't had a great pre-season. The only team they've beaten is Bristol Rovers. Never really sure how much pre-season matters, but it's worth flagging up, particularly when there is concerns about another slow start. In 5th place, we have Millwall, who seem to be a very popular dark horse for many this season, and we're not disagreeing with that, are we, Justin? Go on. Are you willing to give this one an A at least?
I'm not. I won't say I have a reputation. You're willing to, do anything, Ryan, for a bit of lark. I'm
it's
not.
Just a Saturday night, mate.
Just a Saturday night. Yeah, they are a dark horse. They are or a dark lion. No. Okay. I think with Millwall, they're at a point where they're not a dark horse because everyone's fancying them for a push. But with this Millwall squad, there's solidity, there's energy, there's tenacity, there's creativity, and there's a high potential for goals. When you mix that with a very talented manager in Alex Neil, you've got a lovely blend. I think as well, it's worth remembering that apart from the 2023-24 season where Guy Rowett left and Joe Edwards came in and was then sacked, they've been 8th, 11th, 9th, 8th, and then 8th again last year. So they've always been there or thereabouts with limited resources. Now, throw a bit of resources at this club, at this squad, and a very active last 3 transfer windows where there's been a complete change in transfer strategy. They're targeting younger players, going abroad as well. Millwall, very, very tasty.
Very tasty indeed. I am really hot on Millwall this season, as you can probably tell. And the squad is looking very good. Admittedly, one position I'm not totally keen on is goalkeeper because Stephen Bender's come in on loan. He's been back up at Fulham for several years and hasn't played a league game in over 2 years. But we'll see. The defence in front of him is looking very strong, though. The centre-back partnership of Japhet Tanganga and Jake Cooper, one of the best in the division last season. Tanganga has been linked with a move away, but he's also been offered a new deal. So we'll see. Tristan Kramer at right back has looked a very smart addition after he came in January and can also slot into a back 3. And then there's new signing Alfie Doherty, one of the rare players to come out of Luton this season with a bit of credit and will be such a big threat on the left-hand side. They've also got Ryan Leonard and Joe Bryan, who are very good backups at fullback. In midfield, Casper De Norre, one of the best ball winners in the division. They've got in Massimo Luongo, whose career was rejuvenated at Ipswich. Luke Cundle and Billy Mitchell, solid alternatives as well. In attack, they've got Femi Aziz on the right, who really grew into last season and can step up further this season. On the left, Camille Negley, who joined back in January for a club record fee. We barely saw him last season because of injury, but he's been playing in pre-season. Definitely one to watch if he can stay fit. There's also Adomo Imaku, Race Bangura Williams, 2 young wingers who are looking to step up. And then finally, up front, $5 million has been spent on Josh Coburn, which on the face of it seems a lot, but he's a big physical lad with a lot of room to improve. And most importantly, helped get the best out of Mihailo Ivanovic. My pick last week to be top goal scorer in the Championship this season. 10 goals in his final 17 starts of last season. I am so hot on him having a brilliant campaign as long as he stays, of course, because Millwall have seen him be linked with a move away, but they seem determined to keep him. And then, of course, Justin, there's the manager, who you're a big fan of.
Yeah, very, very clever manager, Alex Neil. Flexible one as well. I think he's the perfect blend of football where his teams can be direct, but they can manage in possession also. Certainly one that gets underrated. Just waiting for Stoke fans to come in and say how shit he was, but completely ignoring the fact that every manager who's been at Stoke has been shit since they come down from the Premier League. Every Stoke spell is a blip on the CV, but Alex Neil looks like he's learned from it. And actually, where he took Millwall last season, it's worth mentioning because Neil Harris got them playing a little bit more front foot, a little bit more aggressive and direct in their press. I think Alex Neil took blends of that and got them a little bit more patient in possession, and actually game management became a very, very positive thing. He's just a guy who comes in, identifies a couple of things that need improving. He'll work on them. They'll stop conceding goals. They'll stop conceding chances, and they'll build from the bottom up. And I think they did that last season. And now is the mark of a very exciting campaign. Of course, he's got success at championship level with Norwich. He came in halfway through the season, I think 2014, 2015, got them promoted to the playoffs, very long time ago now. But it just shows that he can come in halfway through a season, identify what's going wrong, change it, turn it into a positive, and get going. Did the same thing at Preston when he took over there. Did the same thing at Sunderland. He broke the Sunderland curse at the playoffs, of course, winning in the playoffs for them. There are so many things that can be easily overlooked with Alex Neil and underrated because he's simply not got a team in the Premier League very recently. But there's a guy there who's just very clever, very switched on, very flexible, ticks so many boxes, does Alex Neil.
Yeah, very underrated manager. And one final thing I'll say on Millwall is 5-1 they are for a top 6 place. Leave that there. Justin, we'll have a quick break. After that, we'll get on to our top 4. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. You've listened to 2.5 episodes where we've revealed all the teams we think will finish between 24th and 5th this season. We've finally reached the top 4. Who do we think is going up this season? All will be revealed shortly. But in the last 2 seasons, ladies and gents, 4th place has gone to a team who are sort of in a netherworld where they're not good enough to keep up with the automatic promotion race, but are too good for everyone else. And then they've gone on to win the playoffs. Will that trend continue this coming season? We shall wait and see. But in 4th place, we have Birmingham City. Now, ladies and gents, this has possibly been the most contentious one of all between Justin and I in the entirety of these rankings, because I had Birmingham City 2nd. But Justin thoroughly shat all over my parade when I said we should put them there. He had them 5th. So, with that being said, Justin, why do you hate Tom Brady, Jeff Lynne, Jesper Carrott, and the whole of Birmingham, Justin?
I just wasn't a fan of, Golden Balls.
Yes.
Yeah, Golden Balls. It's not the best daytime quiz show. Here
we go.
Yeah.
He's revving up, ladies and gents.
I'm waiting for Birmingham fans to fill the YouTube comments and say I hate Birmingham, which just isn't the case. And by the way, there's no bias towards Birmingham City because I know that they've all been saying that because of what happened a couple of years ago with Derby's administration. Oh, no, it's all water under the bridge, guys. I don't care. I had them 5th because I'm simply... It's too many question marks. There are too many question marks for a team coming up from League One. I think it's important to be tempered with this. I had them 5th. I had them to finish in the playoffs. Gives you a chance of promotion. I think, firstly, as well, we have to remember how hard back-to-back promotions is actually to achieve. Only 3 teams have done it. Ipswich, Southampton and Norwich. You have to be a very special team to achieve it. I'm not saying Birmingham aren't, but throwing money around doesn't make you a special team. It's a building block. It's all it's building. It's what it needs to be done. This season has to be a season where if they can finish in the playoffs, use that as a foundation to go again the following year, because certainly they've got the resources to do it. But the other question marks I will throw in is how are the players going to adapt playing in a league higher? I think Chris Davis actually summarised it really well in an interview this week where he said, in League One, they're expected to win every game last season, apart from 2, the FA Cup games against Fulham and Newcastle. All that does, for me, is tell me that the expectation to win might remain, but the weekly challenges they all face are very, very different to the ones they got in League One. A team who's used to winning, who could find themselves not winning every week, offers up uncertainties we just don't know about.
I think those comments are absolutely fine, Justin. What I will say is For any Birmingham fans listening, Justin was saying very similar things when I had Ipswich to finish second a couple of years ago, and he was made to eat a gigantic slice of humble pie in the end. But look, I really do fancy Birmingham to go up automatically this season. Part of that is down to reservations I have with other so-called promotion contenders, which we'll get onto shortly. But I do think they could be a real force to be reckoned with. Firstly, I don't think you can underestimate how big a factor it can be just riding that crest of a wave. It worked brilliantly for Ipswich a couple of years ago, and when a team gets 111 points, it's a bloody big wave. Birmingham fans feel like they've got their club back, and the atmosphere is going to be electric every single week, particularly at home where they haven't lost in the league since April last year. I think they've got a very promising coach in Chris Davies. Having just watched the Birmingham documentary, he seems like a very impressive guy, and considering his pedigree, could go on to coach at the highest level. And then the squad. That squad for me was already essentially a top half championship team based off the quality they had and how much they crushed League One. And it has been seriously strengthened. The highlights for me being Aaron Cashin, Tommy Doyle, Kyogo Furuhashi. 3 players I don't think would look out of place in the Premier League. But the big thing for me is I've listened to a lot of predictions over the last few days, and it's almost like everyone seems to forget we've still got a month left of the transfer window, and the January window for that matter as well. That's a bigger deal for Birmingham than it is anyone else, because their business so far, I think they've just been warming up. And keep in mind, they didn't sign Jay Stansfield until deadline day of last year. These owners are desperate for the Premier League. So I fully expect them to keep splashing the cash. And if they continue to sign the calibre of player that they have so far, they will be seriously strong in every area of the pitch.
That's undeniable. That's undeniable that they are strong. I just think, I think a top 6 is absolutely fair. But more on the squad, I think missing out on Chubrakpom is a blow, but the potential signing of Marvin Dush gets me probably more excited than that because of his ability to be creative. And what that tells me is they're looking for a second striker in a maybe in a 4-2-3-1, which again I think probably helps them more. And again, probably gets me a little bit more excited. But I think they are still short, probably in the wide areas, maybe a central midfielder as well. But it's undeniable the squad's strong, and I think actually the perception of the squad being strong is in the resource, the players that they can go out and get. It's by far eclipsing anybody else in the Championship, barring maybe Southampton and Ipswich to an extent. But actually, Birmingham's resource and freedom for resource is there. It's absolutely there. And that's the frightening thing. So there being this much time between now and the end of the transfer window, I think is a problem for the rest of the division, because ultimately, I think Birmingham probably the only team in the division who can go out and get whoever they want.
Absolutely, Justin. And that's why I'm so hot on them this season. People will say you can't buy your way to promotion in the Championship, but you can buy some fucking good players along the way. And this is without a doubt the strongest squad we've seen come up from League One. And I include Ipswich in that, even though I am obviously a big Ipswich fanboy. In goal, they've got James Beadle and Ryan Alsop. Beadle is one of the most highly rated young keepers in the country, and Alsop was excellent in Birmingham's promotion. At centre-back, they've got Christoph Clara. Their player of the season in League One, shouldn't have been playing at that level in the first place, and is an absolute beast. Aaron Cashin's come in on loan, moved to Brighton for $9 million back in January. A brilliant young defender. They've also got Phil Newman, who's coming with big reviews from Germany, as well as Christian Bielik. At right back, they've got Ethan Laird, who's a very good player at Championship level. They've also signed Brighter Samuel, who was Fenerbahce's first choice right back last season. And then at left back, they have Alex Cochrane, who was arguably the unsung hero of last season for Blues. In midfield, where do you want to start? Tommy Doyle joined on loan, a Premier League quality midfielder in my eyes. Tomoki Iwata, Paik Sung-kyo, excellent in League One and shouldn't have been playing at that level in the first place. They've also signed Kanya Fujimoto from Portuguese side Zil Vicenta. And there's Willem Willemsen, who I would also class as shouldn't have been in League One in the first place. I agree with you, out wide is where they've got to strengthen for me. I think Damari Gray is a good signing despite cynicism from some. Their only other natural winger, though, is Keshi Anderson. But up front, they are absolutely stacked. They've signed Marvin Duksch, a brilliant all-round striker from Werder Bremen who scored 32 goals and got 23 assists in his last 3 seasons in the Bundesliga. Not the German second tier, the flipping Bundesliga. Why is he in the Championship? He was called up to the German national team the season before last. So that looks a serious signing for just 2 million. What is going on there? They've also spent big on Kyogo Furuhashi, who scored goals for fun at Celtic. And, of course, they're essentially the face of this Birmingham team, Jay Stansfield. Opposition fans love to point out how he scored a lot of goals last season from the penalty spot, but let's not mess around. He gets into just about every team in the Championship. So, seriously strong, Justin, and will almost certainly get stronger before the end of August.
Blaring omission of Lyndon Dykes, by the way.
Oh, how could I forget?
the big number 9. I mean, you're just reading off the names there. Jay Stansfield, I think I've thrown a bit of scepticism at because of his non-penalty goals last season, but he was very revered at the Under-21 European Championships this season, being one of the unsung heroes in that England team. Obviously, won the blue tournament. He's a hard worker, if anything, and again, he's got an eye for goal, which is a perfect blend. Furuhashi, I want him to do well because there's potential there for him to have a 25-goal season, but I don't know, something just pulls me back a little bit. Maybe it's because he's done it in the SPL, he went over to France, didn't quite get going, and obviously he's come over to Birmingham, but nonetheless, it's a bloody good signing, and he'll get into most, if not every Championship squad. But again, I was talking about Coventry having 2 players for every position. Birmingham have that as well. There are squad players you didn't even mention, the likes of Taylor Gardner-Hickman, Lee Buchanan's coming back from injury, a fullback in midfield.
Many time constraints, I didn't mention them.
Well, yeah, that's why I can throw them in my little bit. But all I can say is I agree with a lot of it. I think it's going to be a tight sort of top 4, top 5 this coming season. Where I know in previous years we've seen a huge gap, but I actually think there are problems that present a lot of clubs, and I think the space or the points, if you like, between second and fourth will be a lot lower than what we've seen in previous years.
It's interesting you say that, Justin, because I had my top 3, and I think that's a top 3 who will cut themselves off from the rest of the division based on how much quality they've got. That top 3 includes Birmingham and our top 2, which we'll get onto shortly. We move on to the team who we have third. Justin had them third, I had them fourth. That team is Sheffield United in third place. Sheffield United, of course, very unfortunate to not get promoted last season. They became the first team in Championship history to win 92 points in a season and not get automatically promoted. And then they also lost in the playoff final thanks to a 95th minute winner. And usually a team like that you would have thought would be in prime position to get promoted the season after. I'm not sure about Sheffield United. Firstly, I've said before, I don't think the standard of the promotion race last season was as high as previous years. I still think that's the case. Secondly, Sheffield United are actually looking weaker than they were. They've lost Vinny Souza. Now, Arnaud Akbet-Hodzic and Kiefer Moore, as well as all the loanees they had, which they had a fair few of last season. Thirdly, their answer to replacing players is apparently using AI, and that's mainly see them target players in Bulgaria, which is interesting. And I'm not totally sure about the Ruben Sellers appointment. I think you can argue he's an upgrade on Chris Wilder and is definitely more appropriate for the data-led approach the owners are going with. But I just can't shake the feeling this isn't going to go well, especially if he has a poor start. Fans weren't happy with Wilder being sacked, so a bad start would leave Sellers up against it. So with all that being said, I think in the circumstances, a playoff finish would be a good result for the Blades. You had them third, Justin. Tell me why.
I had them third, you're right. But since I put them in my top 3,
here we go.
Transfer business hasn't been fantastic. They've just sold Arnaud Akbet-Hodzic, which I think was a big thing for me. So actually now I have quite a severe stomachache surrounding Sheffield United. You are right, they are weaker, but I have a lot of optimism, or had a lot of optimism with them replacing players before their, I wouldn't even say data-led approach, the AI-led approach, the Terminator's picking out the fucking players, for God's sake. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They're the only team that I can think of that are adopting this AI-driven transfer approach. And maybe we're taking it too literally, I don't know. Might just be someone with a spreadsheet picking out numbers, who knows. But they have got some very strong bones. They've got the best goalkeeper in the league in Michael Cooper. They got the best midfielder, central midfielder in the league, or midfielder in Gus Hamer. Obviously won the Championship Player of the Season last season, not ours, but we'll go with this for the sake of the argument. Sidney Peck is an excellent proposition. Harrison Burrows, again, best left back in the league. Tyrese Campbell, if he stays fit, gets a minimum 15, 20 goal contributions next season. Tom Cannon, I think, has the real potential to spearhead an attack. Louis Barry's coming on loan. Ollie Oblast is coming back from injury. There's really, really good bones, but me picking him third was about a week and a half ago. A lot has transpired since then. Anor Ahmedhodzic leaving is a big problem because he's been one of the Championship's best or most consistent defenders. And him being replaced by a computer, not literally, but that doesn't fill me with any confidence.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like we're pretty negative on Sheffield United so far, which is a bit mad considering we've got them third.
The question I'll throw in it, are we putting them in here because they're one of the parachute payment teams, obviously second year parachute payments, and they had a good year last season? Because maybe that filled my opinion a little bit, but coming away from it and the last week and a half they've had just doesn't fill me with any confidence now than what I had before.
Well, as I say, I had my top three, and I think it's going to be quite a big gap from that top three to the rest of the division. And I had Sheffield United as sort of the best of the rest because even though they have lost players, I still think there is a lot of talent in that team. So let's try and be a bit more excited about them because, as you say, Michael Cooper, probably the best goalkeeper in the league, had been linked with a move to West Ham, but they may be looking elsewhere now, so he might be staying. The defence is looking very weak right now. None of the right backs they had on loan last season have returned, so their only options are Femi Siriki, who's quite a raw player still, and an 18-year-old lad from Bulgaria from the looks of it. Centre-back was a weak point last season, and it's worse now. Ahmedhodzic is gone, but Tyler Bindon on loan from Forest was excellent at Reading last season. Be interesting to see how he steps up. Left-back isn't an issue because Harrison Burrows is class. Simple as that. Midfield is an issue with Vinny Sousa's departure. I'm not sure how good a replacement Djibril Soumaré is on loan from Braga. However, they've still got Gustavo Hamer for now, last season's EFL Player of the Season, who should be playing more centrally, which is very good. They've got Sidney Peck, one of the best young talents in the division, as well as Callum O'Hare and Tom Davies. And it's easy to forget, we've still got Ollie Arblaster to come back from injury, which will be a huge boost when that happens. Attack is looking exciting because Louis Barry could be immense on the left-hand side after an unbelievable half season at Stockport. Andre Brooks on the right can really kick on this campaign. Up front, I'm hoping Tyrese Campbell can follow up his best season in many years. Tom Cannon cost a lot of money in January, so Blades fans will be hoping for better than what they saw of him last season. But a very exciting talent is 19-year-old Ryan One, has been linked with the likes of Liverpool, and if pre-season is anything to go by, could be getting a fair amount of opportunities this season. So from the looks of it, a fairly top-heavy squad at the moment. Anything more from you, Justin?
There's a very good 7 or 8 players who I think are amongst the league's best. And then there are some so-so players. I put Callum O'Hare in that so-so column. And then there are some really promising young players like Ryan One, Andre Brooks is another one. Ollie Arblaster is very highly rated, obviously coming back from injury. It's just there's just still an uncertainty. They need to replace a lot of players. Not getting in a senior right back, I think, is a problem. They just need to address too much right now for me to, like I said a minute ago, have a stomachache. To get rid of that stomachache, need to recruit a little bit more convincingly than just picking players out from Europe.
Yeah. Right, let's go to our top 2, ladies and gents. You could probably guess who they are now, based off if you've listened to all the episodes so far. But in second place, we have Southampton. Now, I had Southampton third. Obviously, I had Birmingham ahead of them. Justin was the one championing them to finish second. So, go on, Justin, you can take the lead on this. Why do you think Southampton will be automatically promoted this season?
Look at the bloody squad. Just look at the squad. I don't need to say anything. Just put a link into their squad, into the show description, and there's your answer, Ryan. Their worst striker will be 95%, or in the 95% best strikers of everyone else in the division. It's just outrageous what they've got. I mean, I can list them all, but I'll just list the forwards. Ross Stewart, Damien Downs, new signing from Germany, Ben Brereton Diaz, Cameron Archer, Adam Armstrong. There's Ryan Fraser as well. There's youngster Samuel Edozie, Tyler Dibbling, who could go, been linked with moves away. But if he stays, bloody hell, that's a very, very almighty attack. Got Will Smallbone in midfield, Joe Aribo, very, very steady championship players. Matias Fernandez, again, if he stays, great player at this level. Shea Charles, who I would put down as one of the contenders for player of the season this coming season. I'm very high on him. That's just getting to the midfield. And then defenders, right back James Bree, very steady at championship level. Charlie Taylor, very steady at championship level. Ryan Manning can provide at championship level. Centre halves, Jack Stevens, Nathan Wood, Ronnie Edwards, Taylor Harwood-Bellis. The squad is stacked full of quality and talent. And Magpie could get this team promoted. Ryan, Wayne Rooney could get this team promoted.
Wow. Now that's a big claim. Blooming heck. Yeah, I mean, I think for the past minute you've just been reeling off players, but that's understandable because I agree with you. This squad is stacked. It's strange saying that about a team who were almost officially the worst side ever in Premier League history, but it is. There's a lot of big names, but also a lot of young players who could really relish Southampton being back in the Championship, and the Will Still appointment is a really ambitious one. When you ignore all the memes, he is clearly a very talented coach. You forget how young he is because we've been hearing about him so long, but he's set to become the youngest manager in Championship history this weekend, which is unbelievable, really. And to do what he's done already in his career at such a young age is amazing, and it seems as if he's on the path to becoming an elite manager. So that's all very exciting. But why did I not have them in my top two? A few reasons. Part of it is down to Will Still, because the two clubs I fancy to finish ahead of them have had their manager in charge for at least a year. It's a new role for him. There's going to be teething problems, as there is with every job, particularly with a squad which is coming off the back of a disastrous campaign. There's definitely the risk of a hangover from last season. And the other thing is, I haven't heard glowing reviews from Saints fans about their performances in pre-season. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 7 games. There's been some interesting tactical decisions that have been made. Ronnie Edwards at right back being one. Ryan Fraser as a number 10. From what I can see, he's played almost every game as a number 10 in pre-season. So Ryan Fraser looks like he's going to be pivotal, which I didn't expect in this squad, which is so stacked. And then finally, that front three, Armstrong, Brereton Diaz and Cameron Archer, on paper, looks amazing. I'm not sure the reality, particularly with all three coming off the back of not great seasons, is going to be as good. So while their squad is undeniably stacked, still plenty of players leaving, potentially. I think it may actually have a few more issues than some people think, Justin.
I'm ignoring all those issues. Ryan, just look at the squad. Just look at the squad. It's absolutely fair to bring certain things up. I was sceptical of Will Still. Manager rankings provided that. I was expecting a little bit more of an assertiveness, especially with the squad. But he recently, the last week, said now's the time to basically start picking players to move on, which I thought was very late in pre-season to be doing that because the league starts in a matter of days. Yep. So for Will Still to be saying that, within a week of the season starting, I think is remarkable. Can't really say too much about where he's putting players in pre-season because pre-season is about trying things. And he might just go, actually, this has been a disaster. I'm just going to play players where they need to play, etc. So we'll see how that goes. But I do think you have to be a really bad manager, or at least really inept to not get this team batting in the top 3 at the very least. It's just too good of a squad. Russell Martin, I don't rate Russell Martin very highly. I think he's a very good developmental manager and he plays a style of play that has its risks, but he's incredibly stubborn and he's been moaning already after one game in the SPL. Even he got this team similar team in the top 4 when he was up and he got them promoted by changing his ways, no less. I'll stop digging at Russell Martin. So, like I said, I think this squad is far too good to be finishing lower than 3rd. I think if it does finish lower than 3rd, I wouldn't say it's been a disaster because ultimately they were with a chance of being promoted. But like I said, you have to be very inept not to have any success with this squad at this level. Ridiculous.
Well, let me reel through that squad because, as we say, it is very stacked. Gavin Bazuna in goal, entertaining to watch. Not sure if you want that in a goalkeeper, but he's definitely that. At right back, as I say, Ronnie Edwards seems to have played a few games there in pre-season, traditionally a centre-back, but they have got James Bree, who's good, albeit admittedly fairly big downgrade on Cal Walker-Peters. Centre-back is interesting. Jack Stephens has been made the captain, so it looks as if he's going to be playing regularly. I haven't made my mind upon him yet. Come back to me in a few weeks for my opinion on Jack Stephens. They've also got in Joshua Kwasi from Hoffenheim, who looks like an absolute beast. They've also got Taylor Harwood-Bellis, if he stays. At left back, they've got Ryan Manning and the Brazilian Wellington. Manning is good. Don't know enough about Wellington to judge. In midfield, it looks like they're going with Shea Charles, 21-year-old, who was phenomenal at Sheffield Wednesday last season. Who plays alongside him is anyone's guess right now, but they've got Flynn Downs, Will Smallbone, Joe Rebo, who were all brilliant in their promotion last time. I'll give a shout for young Moses Cisse as well, who could be involved a fair bit this season if pre-season's anything to go by. If they keep either Tyler Dibbling or Matthias Fernandes, then they're laughing, but I'm becoming increasingly unsure about them even keeping one of them, but we'll wait and see on that. Ryan Fraser as a number 10, not sure about that at all, but in attack, they have got a lot of very recognisable names. That front three of Adam Armstrong on the right, Brereton Diaz on the left, Archer down the middle. As I say, sounds great on paper. What about in reality? Not sure. On the wing, they also have Samuel Edozie. There's a new striker, Damien Downs, who they've signed from Cologne for $7 million. And they've also got Ross Stewart, who, if he can stay fit, can be very good. So a lot to cram in there, Justin. A rather bloated squad. A lot dependent on who stays, though, is the ultimate thing. Very quickly, what you say.
A gluttony of talent. A gluttony of talent. This is your dream if you're a manager and a football manager, because this is what you want. So as I say, Will Still, as I say, he got into management because of Football Manager, if he wasn't aware of the memes. This is his dream. This is his dream, Ryan. That's all I'll say.
Well, we'll see if it turns into a nightmare this coming season, won't we? Right, ladies and gents, this is it. This is the team who we have to win the championship this coming season, and it'll be no surprise at all to anyone who's been keeping track throughout this episode. In first place, we have Ipswich Town. I will say this. I've been looking at other people's league table predictions recently, and everyone's more than entitled to their opinion, but I just cannot fathom how you can look at Ipswich and not think they are winning the league, which some have done. Not many, but some. But put it this way, I believe the plan last season was to sign players that would give them the best possible chance of being back in the Premier League in 2 seasons' time. This was a team that got 96 points last time in the Championship, and they are now significantly stronger. They have the best player in the division in pretty much every position. It's a Championship dream team, and they're still in the process of strengthening further. It says a lot, really, that they may lose Amari Hutchinson, and I'm just thinking, is that much of a blow at this point? And to top it off, they have the best manager in the division, whoever's next best to him is a distant second, put it that way. This is a man who should be in the Premier League and possibly even should be managing at an elite club, but somehow he's back in the Championship. So for me, the question isn't will Ipswich win the league? It's why wouldn't they win the league? And I'm seriously struggling, Justin, to find reasons why.
I'm struggling to find reasons why, but one's just popped into my head. Kieran McKenna losing his first team coach, Lee Grant, who obviously was made manager at Huddersfield. Now, I'm not suggesting that's going to be detrimental, but Lee Grant was on the coaching staff, obviously in the dual promotion campaigns of League One and then the Championship, and was there in the Premier League last season. A very, very important source for Kieran McKenna. And we've seen managers recently really struggle about their, comrades, if you like. Mark Robbins losing Eddie Vivesh and it going tits at Coventry. There's just an example there. As you say, we're looking for reasons why Ipswich won't win the league. It might be a weak one. It's something that I alluded to earlier.
It's a pretty weak one.
Well, it is and it isn't, because this could be the case. I'm not saying Lee Grant was the brains behind the operation, but there's just something that's worth thinking about. Are we going to see the same Ipswich? Are we going to see as well drilled as they were a couple of seasons ago? They need another number 9 because George Hirsch is useful, but are we going to see Connor Chaplin have the same Championship season he had 2 years ago? Maybe, maybe not. So therefore, I'd have question marks about George Hirsch being the number 9. But these reasons are very, very weak, aren't they? Come on.
Yeah, I tip my hat to you, Justin, for trying to come up with some reason, but he's even admitting that he's really clutching at straws with any reason that you can find for Ipswich not winning the league, because, as I say, they've got essentially the best player in every position. We'll start with the goalkeeper, Alex Palmer, excellent at West Brom for 3 seasons before going to Ipswich in January. Centre-back, dearie me, Dara O'Shea and Jacob Greaves, Premier League level centre-backs. Leif Davis, Premier League level left-back, could get 1 billion assists this season. Right back may be an area of concern if you're really nitpicky, but I think Ben Johnson could have an excellent campaign. They've also got Ashley Young for a lot of experience. Midfield was an area of concern for me, but it may now actually turn out to be their best position. Azor Matusiwa joins for 10 million from Rennes, one of the standout ball winners in Ligue 1 last season. Brilliant on the ball too. They've also got back Jens Kajuste, who they signed last season to play in the Premier League, another ridiculously good ball winner. They had also been linked with Hayden Hackney from Middlesbrough, which I wouldn't completely rule out from still happening, by the way. But then in front of them is an attacking 3 of, my word, take your pick, Jaden Philogene, Jack Clark, Sammy Schmodix, possibly Amari Hutchinson if he stays. That's not even mentioning 2 players who are pivotal in their promotion in Wes Burns and Connor Chaplin, or Chidozie Ogbeni, who's back fit, a brilliant player who's very easy to forget. That attacking 3 is absolutely filthy. But up front, in my eyes, was my only position of real concern, but they've sorted that out now by getting Chuba Akpom, fighting off a lot of competition to get him eventually. But even then, they've got George Hurst, who McKenna is clearly a big fan of, and Ali Al-Hamadi has been lethal in pre-season. So that squad is just too good. Is there anything there, Justin, that gives you any sort of worry? What could possibly stop this juggernaut?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking at the squad now, and despite midfield being an area of great depth, they've got Matasiwa, as you mentioned. There's Cameron Humphreys, who's a youngster who's been out on loan. Jack Taylor has been there for a while. He's never really been a starter, but it's hard to pick weaknesses. Cedric Kipre's a backup centre-back. Luke Wolfenden's there. Yeah, this is a gluttony of quality. It's what you want in the Championship, especially. And I think the worrying thing is a lot of these players have got gears to go, apart from Ashley Young, who's 40. You got George Hurst, who will continue to develop. Jack Clark, Jaden Philogene will continue to develop. You've not mentioned Sammy Schmodix, who won the Golden Boot very recently. But anyway, he won the Golden Boot, just another reminder to everybody else. Just a couple of seasons ago for Blackburn, a team who were down fighting relegation at the time that he won his Golden Boot. Defence is what impresses me most about this Ipswich team, and the depth in the wide areas. It's just astonishing that they got this much quality, but yeah, that's their problem.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think Ipswich's second 11 would be too far off from getting automatically promoted. It's honestly so stacked. My biggest concern is Kieran McKenna leaving. But what I would say to that is, take Brentford, for example. That job is obviously very appealing early on in the summer. But 15 games in, if Keith Andrews gets sacked with them in the relegation zone and Ipswich atop the league having won pretty much every game, all of a sudden the Brentford job isn't so appealing anymore. If one of the elite clubs sack their manager, there may be a problem there. But even then, I think Ipswich have got their heads screwed on enough to replace him. And the squad could be even stronger by the end of the transfer window, Justin. If they get Hayden Hackney, then I will start undressing on the podcast, which, as I say, I wouldn't rule out still happening. But even now, Ipswich tick every single box. Dare I say?
Don't fucking say it.
You're very protective when it comes to this, but I don't think the points record is out the question. If they got 96 points last time out with a weaker squad, is an extra 10 points really that outrageous, Justin?
It is. Shut up.
Is it?
I think there's a team you flirt with every single summer with this. And unfortunately, no one gets near it because that Reading team of 05-06, 106 points. No, not to be beaten for me.
I think if anyone's going to get close, this may be the strongest contender yet, based off everything that we've seen with this team. So, yeah, that's one to revise later on in the season. But ultimately, Ipswich are without a doubt our title winners for this coming season. So there we have it, ladies and gents, our league table predictions for the 25-26 championship season. We'll now do a quick recap of the entire table from the past 3 episodes, starting with 24th, Justin.
We've got Sheffield Wednesday.
In 23rd, we have Preston North End.
In 22nd, we've got Hull City.
Just staying up is Oxford United in 21st.
In 20th, we've got Stoke City.
19th, Blackburn Rovers.
18th, we've got Wrexham.
17th is Watford.
In 16th, we've got Portsmouth.
15th place is Middlesbrough.
In 14th, we've got Charlton Athletic.
13th is Swansea City.
12th is Bristol City.
11th, West Bromwich Albion.
10th is the mighty Derby County.
Rams. 9th place, we have Norwich City.
And in 8th, we've got QPR.
7th, we have Leicester City.
In 6th, we've got Frank Lampard's Coventry City.
As they legally have to be known. 5th place, we've got Millwall.
In 4th, we've got Birmingham City.
Disgraceful. 3rd place, we've got Sheffield United.
In 2nd, we've got Southampton.
And in 1st place, our title winners for this season is, of course, Ipswich Town. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you'll be able to see Justin and I's separate tables. If you're listening to the audio version and want to see who each of us have where, go and have a look on YouTube now. But otherwise, a big thank you. If you listen to all 3 parts of our league table predictions, we promise to give you the most detailed preview of every team in the Championship this season, and we hope you found it thoroughly enjoyable. We'll see in 9 months' time how accurate we've been. But otherwise, we're back again tomorrow with the preview show, where we'll be making some predictions for the opening weekend of the Championship season. It's finally back, ladies and gents, so we'll see you there for that. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.